Hi everyone. So this is a bit different. I'm going to come on here and I'm going to talk about my awakening that I had. The awakening that I had came in 2 days ago, literally during like the geomagnetic storm. And I had this real, what I call a tumbling tower moment, where all those things that you tell yourself in your mind, I'm this, I'm that, it all came apart. All the beliefs I had, everything, it collapsed. And what was I left with? Well, the bare bones. I realized that from what I've known for all my life is that I'm different. But I'm not just different, I'm neurodivergent. And in this series, I'm going to help you to understand what neurodivergence is, how it's affected my life, and also how it's affected my business relationships and relationships in general. I will help you to understand neurodivergence more, as I also have my own understanding of it. So what is neurodiversity, and how does it set you apart from other people? Neurodiversity is when the mind works differently. Everyone's minds work differently. No one fits one particular box or category. Some people can have different components of different categories, part autism, some ADHD, some high sensitivity. So you can fall into different categories. The old belief was that it would just fall into one category. So for example, when I was in school, you had a test just for ADHD or you had a test just for autism. When I was in school, it didn't show up that I was on ADHD because the tests then, they weren't broad spectrum. They thought it was one and one for all, which is what they're finding now is not the case. In my case, I've found over the years that my brain just doesn't work the same way as other people's. At first, I thought it was something that I would have to fix. And it's not something that you can just fix. You can find different ways of working which help you to frame things differently so that your brain can absorb them easier. So for example, I love imagery. I learn really well through images. I'm also really good at decoding things. However, if you've got someone, for example, standing at the front of a room with a whiteboard and it's just text and they're just talking, then I will get really overstimulated with just talking. I will need something that I can either hold or something that I can interact with. Otherwise, I won't learn it. So for me, learning languages was always the hardest part for me because a lot of it would be you're just listening to the language. And there'll be a teacher at the top of the classroom and they'll be pointing things out on the whiteboard. And yeah, that's all great if you're neurotypical. However, if you're neurodivergent, you would struggle with that because you would need something to hold or grasp, something a little bit more dynamic. So why am I making this series? Well, to start off with, I've been feeling a little bit lost. I came back from Bali. I was teaching yoga over there. And I've come back into the city and suddenly I'm completely overstimulated and seemingly have no direction. I've applied for multiple jobs and not one of them I have received an offer for. I really hit a wall and everything came into perspective about me, about how I interact with the world. Everything comes into question when you don't get a job, right? So I've been thinking, how can I make this work? What can I do that's going to bring in money? How can I show up in the world that's authentic? For me, showing up in the world and being my authentic self is the most important thing. I'm just trying to work out how I can make money being me and also helping other people who are like me as well. I want to be here to inspire others, and I don't just want to find myself getting lost in the rat race because that's just not who I am. And it's also totally not how I operate. I can't do the rat race. That's just not me. I will burn out after 2 days. So it's about finding a new framework, one that works for me. I'm making this series not only for me to help me understand, but also for other people so that they can understand me, can understand neurodivergence in general, and also to reach other people who may not have been diagnosed or may feel like, hey, I am different. And maybe this video will reach you and you'll find yourself asking those questions. Why is it I've always felt different? Why is it that I seem to operate different from other people? Then you may be falling into the neurodivergent category. Growing up, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, those kind of tests weren't available. So a lot of people in their maybe late 20s, 30s are just coming out as neurodivergent because we didn't have the proper testing when we were children. In the next videos, I'm going to be talking about how neurodivergent shows up in my everyday life, the strengths that come with being neurodivergent, the challenges that people face and that they don't always see, and how you can support the neurodivergent people in your life.